Disney's live action Snow White seems to have a bad habit of underperforming its already low expectations because during its opening weekend, we saw that with its box office haul. And during its second weekend, it was projected going into the weekend that it'll have a 53% drop off at the box office. Well, now it's looking like it's a 66% drop off during its second weekend. And something that I think is actually pretty funny in all this is that the Jason Statham action movie, A Working Man, actually beat it out at the domestic box office, taking the number one spot. Now, one of the reasons why Disney decided to release Snow White in early March like they did is because there wasn't much competition on the horizon until a Minecraft movie comes out next week. And I thought they were going to enjoy maybe a couple weeks in the spotlight before a Minecraft movie basically takes the number one spot from them. But it looks like they only got 1 week before a $40 million dumb action movie takes the number one spot. And I don't say it's a dumb action movie to try to denigrate it or anything like that, because I like a lot of the Jason Statham action movies. I think they're just kind of turn your brain off popcorn movies, and I don't think they're trying to pretend to be anything other than that. But it's kind of funny that a movie like that end up overthrowing the big Disney live action remake of Snow White at the box office. In a surprise win, Jason Statham's action thriller, A Working Man, topped the box office with $15.2 million in its opening weekend. The film from Suicide Squad director David Ayer, maybe you should leave out the Suicide Squad part. David Ayer has done a lot better movies than that one. And Amazon MGM knocked down the previous champion, Disney's Snow White, which plummeted by more than 66% in its second outing. Now, in ordinary circumstances, a 66% drop off during its second weekend would be pretty bad for a movie. I was saying before in my live stream yesterday that a 53% drop off during its second weekend was already bad enough because they had such a low opening weekend. They couldn't afford to have a drop off like 53% during its second weekend. 66 though, yeah, that's just terrible news for it. At this current stage, it's doubtful that it'll even make back its production budget, but I will get more on that in a moment. After a sleepy $45 million start, Disney's live-action remake of the classic fairy tale has dropped to the number 2 spot with $14.2 million from 4,200 theaters. Snow White, starring Rachel Zegler as the eponymous princess and Gal Gadot as the evil queen, has generated $66.8 million domestically and $143.1 million worldwide to date. The tentpole costs above $250 million before factoring in marketing expenses, so Snow White needs to show some endurance at the box office to justify its hefty price tag. It'll face competition for family audiences as the Warner Brothers video game adaptation of a Minecraft movie opens next weekend. And I am curious to see what the box office return is going to be next weekend, because this weekend, it's not like there was competition from family audiences. We're going to get that next weekend. So I'm not saying that they're going to have another 60+% drop off during its third weekend. That'd be insane if it did. But you're going to see another drop off for that. Like this article said, so far it's made around $143 million domestically, or not domestically, globally. Wait, no. Million domestically and $143 million. So, okay, yeah, it's made $143 million globally so far. Not a good sign for a movie like that, because with the budgets given, when you factor in marketing and all the other stuff, it probably needs to make a minimum $750 million at the global box office in order to just break even. The likely amount that they actually need to make, though, is probably higher than that, but I'm just saying, like, the most conservative estimate saying they need to make $750 million. And as I said before, it's doubtful that they'll even make back their production budget, which stated right here is $250 million. When you release a movie like this and you can't even make back your initial production budget, that's when you can't even deny that it's a flop. I mean, people are trying to say Captain America Brave New World wasn't a flop because it made back the reported $180 million that they spent on it, even though it probably needs to make closer to $500 million in order to break even. People are saying like, oh no, see, it made more than $180 million, so that means it's profitable. It's like, I mean, if people really think that, there's really no way you can convince them, because I don't know if they're capable of critical thinking or any type of thinking whatsoever, if I'm being completely honest. So A Working Man earned mixed reviews and a B grade on CinemaScore exit polls. In the film, Statham plays a decorated military veteran who emerges from retirement after human traffickers kidnap his boss's daughter. This start is slightly behind Ayer and Statham's latest collaboration with Amazon MGM's 2024's The Beekeeper, which launched with $16 million. That film ultimately powered its way to a decent $66 million domestically and a respectable $162 million globally. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the final outcome is for A Working Man, but with a $40 million budget and around a $15 million opening weekend domestically, it's pretty likely for them to make the proper amount in order to break even. At that rate, they probably need to make around $150 million globally in order to make their money back. And I'm sure they're going to be able to hit that, especially since they say B grade cinema score isn't that great. I mean, that's kind of mediocre, but when you take into consideration the Rotten Tomatoes scores, when you see what audiences thought of it, audiences seem to enjoy it well enough, at least according to Rotten Tomatoes. Here, let's even just go to all audiences. 85%, I would say, is kind of respectable for that metric. Now you compare that to what we saw with Snow White, 74% for verified, and then all audiences, 19%. So not good for this one, but it seems like people are at the very least digging A Working Man, and that's probably because there's not a whole lot of competition for this type of movie out right now. So they kind of have clear skies ahead of them when it comes to this sort of thing. Now, as far as Snow White goes, kind of jumping back to how much they need to make in order to break even or their box office potential. This article I found from Screen Rant is talking about what they made as well as how it compares to some of the other live action remakes, because it's looking like this is the worst one that they've made, or at least the one that they've made in recent years. While it debuted at number 1 at the domestic box office, it earned a middling $42.2 million that weekend. Per Variety, as of Sunday morning, Snow White is projected to gross a 3-day total of $14.2 million by the end of its sophomore weekend at the domestic box office. This sees it stumbling down to number 2 behind A Working Man with a week-on-week drop of 66%, which is the worst week 2 drop of any Disney live-action remake. It has, if you scroll down, there's this chart that they have showing the second week drops for all the live action remakes, and like I said, this is the one that they've started making in more recent years. Not a good sign for them on this one. Where does it say this? I saw something earlier that was talking about here. Additionally, while Snow White box office has grown to a degree that it has landed among the year's other blockbuster tentpoles, its enormous budget still presents it with a potentially insurmountable problem. The movie reportedly cost roughly $250 million, which most likely means that its break-even point is somewhere around $625 million. And they're getting that because they're not factoring in the marketing cost of that. If you factor in marketing costs, that's when you get the minimum of the $750 million that they probably need to make in order to break even. At its current trajectory, it may not even hit the $250 million milestone, which would see it closing its theatrical run at a huge loss for Disney. Yeah, this could potentially lose a few $100 million for Disney. And now if that is the case, this could actually be the biggest box office bomb in the entirety of Disney's history, which is saying an awful lot about this. Now, a lot of people have been blaming Rachel Zegler, and I do think she carries a certain amount of blame to be had for the failure of this. I don't think she's 100% at fault for all this. I do think she is the reason why. I think she probably did cost it a couple $100 million at the box office, but just going by like what I was saying and what the projections are, even if you added a couple $100 million to this, it still doesn't look like it's going to make back its money at the box office. So I don't think Rachel Zegler is entirely responsible for this. I just think she did a large amount of it. But right now it's looking like Disney's kind of blaming her, or there's people at Disney kind of blaming her. There was that producer's son who said she's responsible, or kind of put a lot of blame on her. And Disney hasn't really been, at least as a company hasn't been too public about it. Rachel Zegler, though, has been trying to defend herself, and in all honesty, I don't think she's doing herself any favors with all this. I think she should have just shut up a long time ago and should be shutting up about this movie and the ramifications of it, because only thing she can stand to do is basically anger Disney, and even though she's not currently working for them because the movie's out and it's done with. When you start attacking your employer, the studio that you worked for, publicly like this, then a lot of other studios in the future will look at you and be like, well, do we want to hire someone like this who will badmouth us if things don't go their way, or if the movie doesn't succeed for whatever reason like this. So I think Rachel Zegler is probably just hurting her chance of a respectable career, because she was kind of plucked from obscurity and given a lot of roles in these major franchises, and so far none of them have really materialized in any sizable box office revenue. And I would say she's just not worth it. She brings a lot of drama to the scene. People don't seem to like her for various understandable reasons. And then if things don't go her way, then she'll lash out like a child. So I think at least I'm not going to say her career is entirely done or anything like that. But I do think a lot of studios will be weighing the pros and cons of working with her in the future, because they're just like, think, well, is the juice really worth the squeeze on this one? Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.